Killers of the Flower Moon. It's a movie that has had a very interesting development cycle. It went into like, this auction where like Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio were like, we're going to adapt this book of the same name, this book that covers like a true American tragedy with like how the indigenous tribe was treated. And literally they called it the Reign of Terror, where like like a bunch of like Americans moved out west, and over the course of years they killed off a lot of the native tribe to take over this oil rich land, and basically, for all the money that it was worth. And then this book, which is a very piercing, account of all of those events, basically Martin Scorsese was like, this is right up my alley. I made The Departed. I've made things like Goodfellas. I've made Raging Bull. Like, I'm very good at these kind of movies. And I'm very good at adapting other stories. Like Wise Guys was turned into Goodfellas. And of course, Killers of the Flower Moon is going to become Killers of the Flower Moon on screen. Then Apple TV got, not Apple TV, but Apple got involved. Mm-hmm. And they were like, we're going to give you the money to make this movie. Now, Martin Scorsese historically has worked with Warner Brothers a lot. He did his recent movie, The Irishman, with Netflix, which got a lot of awards consideration, but ultimately I don't think it won anything significant. Whereas this movie, which unlike that Irishman movie, which got a limited theatrical release, Killers of the Flower Moon, Apple has got a deal with Paramount to release this theatrically in like a full theatrical run. And they put out a couple of trailers. And I got to tell you, I watched the two trailers. Like, I watched them back the first time a few weeks ago, and I was like blown away. And then today I just like to prepare for the segment, I went back and I watched them back to back. And holy cow, I think especially the second trailer might be the best movie trailer of the year, because there's this just underlying dread that you feel watching this movie, and you feel this, not just see and hear, you feel the scale and scope of this film, not just in terms of the visual scope and like the amount of time this movie covers, but you also feel the scale, scope, and like the breadth of emotion of the characters in this movie. Mm-hmm. And then you look at like what some of the critics are saying about it, that this could be, or this is, Leonardo DiCaprio's best performance of his career. That in a career full of classics, where if you go back and look at the Rotten Tomatoes page for Goodfellas, Rotten Tomatoes says, oh, this is the peak of Martin Scorsese's career. Or if you go and look at The Departed, which he won the Best Director Oscar for, that this is the zenith of his career. And then you look at the Rotten Tomatoes description for this movie, for Killers of the Flower Moon, they're saying, oh, all of Martin Scorsese and his collaborators have hit another zenith in their careers. So I'm like, so they're like hyping this thing up to the moon, and the movie's currently sitting with a 90s Rotten Tomato score with just under 100 reviews. Yeah. And some of the reviews are just like, they're speaking to all of those things that I just mentioned. And this movie is like almost 3.5 hours long. So it's not going to be something that you just go and watch and it's a brisk 2 hours or 90 minutes. What do you think about all of those things that I just described? What did you think about the trailer for this movie? And are you excited to go see this in a movie theater?
Oh, I've been super excited to see it since I saw the first trailer that came out, 2-3 months ago. Yep. In general, the soundtrack for the trailer is really good. So when you were talking about like hearing it, I don't know if I necessarily use the word dread. You use that word. I don't use that word. I guess it is suspenseful, but not necessarily in a negative way. I don't get that. I'm actually just really excited to see how it plays out. It looks like a really great action film. I love Leonardo DiCaprio. Don't necessarily love that he dates 18-year-olds, but like that, yeah, neither here nor there. Martin Scorsese, he's such a great director. And in general, I'm really excited to see the two of them together. There also seem to be some like new players. I mean, the cast is stacked, right? But there does seem to be some newer players in this movie too. So I'm just excited overall to see all of the things. It feels like a very October movie, which is great.
This is an award season film. This is one of those movies that's probably going to get like a dozen awards nominations, especially considering that Dune Part 2 is no longer on the calendar this year, and a bunch of other movies moved out of the way because of the actor strike. But also, in a year when we have gotten Christopher Nolan putting out what could be one of, if not his, I mean, for according to some people, maybe his best movie ever, in Oppenheimer, a movie that might be his best shot at best director. Here comes Martin Scorsese with what a lot of people are saying is his best work of his career.
Yeah.
And if it's better than The Departed and The Departed got him best director, then one could argue this may get him a second best director award. And like I think like my sense, like when I said like the sense of dread that you feel in the trailer has to do so much with like you can see just like how much killing is happening going on in this movie in terms of like all of the, I think is it the Osage tribe. Let me make sure I'm not the Osage Nation. Like they are the ones who discover all this oil, and then all these American settlers move in, and this the basically the gist of it is that they try to like marry into the Osage Nation, and as a result of that, try to get the oil money flowing in their direction, if you will, and start killing off the heirs. And then basically it's just like a power grab. And then Jesse Plemons is in this. I saw Brendan Fraser in a shot in the trailer. I'm like, wait, he's in this? And then by all accounts, you go by the reviews, you go by the trailer, and certainly if you ask anybody who has seen the movie, Lily Gladstone is a breakout in this film, and it looks like she might get some serious consideration, if not actually win the best actress award.
To see her.
So yeah, and the fact that this is exactly the kind of movie that Scorsese knows how to do well. And Apple looks like they gave him all the leeway like Netflix did with The Irishman to go do his thing. It's certainly good to see that, there's directors out there who are still able to do that in a world today where so many studios have such tight control. And the fact that this is not a franchise movie. Like, that's something that Martin Scorsese on the press junket tour, like he's been constantly reiterating. Like nowadays, Hollywood is either about blockbuster franchises or every other movie is an indie film. And like this movie is not an indie film because it's got a budget of like $200 million. And Apple is standing behind it. This and Napoleon are like the two big Apple movies coming out this fall, both of which are going to be awards contenders. This is the first one out the door. I'm very excited for this. It's going to be a long sit through. It's kind of like Oppenheimer that you're going to have to sit there for about three and a half hours.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's going to be very like, in like, well, what's the word? Very immersive. It's going to be the kind of experience you go and watch. It's like this basically a Western crime thriller sort of a movie that you get involved and you're going to see these characters go through a lot over the course of several years in the lifetimes of these characters. And that's a journey that I think for, actors like De Niro and DiCaprio, who, by the way, the two most popular collaborators on screen, the two most popular leads of Martin Scorsese's filmmaking career across the many eras of his filmmaking career. For the first time ever, Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio are together in one film under Martin Scorsese's direction. So that alone, I think, is a reason to go check this movie out. I am very excited for this. I think you said that you are too. We're going to go watch this movie in theaters. And guys, if you're going to go watch this movie in theaters, then let us know in the comments below what has got you excited about this. I'm excited to see just how this plays out. And then if I don't get my fill, then I'm sure I'm going to be able to go watch it on Apple TV Plus later once it's out of theaters. And let us know in the comments what you guys think. And come back here next week. We'll be reviewing the movie. And that's all. That's all for today. Guys, go out there and have an amazing week at the movies and then come back and tell us all about it. And until next week, it's been great talking to you, Angelina, and we will see you next time.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.